Episode 30. Use spiritual lures. As liberating as we think ourselves in modern times, almost all of us still harbor lingering doubts and insecurities about our physical desires and sexuality. There's a sliver of unease about indulging our pure animal natures. Appeals that come across as too overtly physical can inadvertently stir up these anxieties in the person you're trying to seduce, putting them on guard. The brilliant solution, as laid out by Robert Greene in his book The Art of Seduction, is to lure your seductive target outside of their self-consciousness by redirecting their focus towards something sublime and spiritual. Dangle a lofty ideal or pursuit in front of them. It could be art, poetry, a spiritual movement, a return to nature, interest in the occult and mystical traditions, or even an ancient pagan religion. Whatever it is, it should have an aura of being elevated above the coarse material world. By making this spiritual ideal or unexplored realm the point of mutual interest between yourself and your target, you powerfully divert their attention from the inevitably physical endgame of your seduction. They become immersed in something that feels pure, profound, and almost holy. At the same time, you open the door to titillating realms of tantric and pagan earthiness. The art of the spiritual siren. Greene provides the compelling example of Natalie Barney, who seduced scores of women in turn-of-the-century Paris by absorbing them into a kind of cult worship of beauty, poetry, and idealized sapphic Greek love between women. Rather than feeling seedy about succumbing to lesbian desires, her lovers were made to feel they were experiencing something innocent, timeless, and transcendent straight out of Sappho's pagan poetry. Barney would love-bomb her targets with a daily deluge of flowers, poems, and romantic notes extolling their beauty and making them feel like objects of pure veneration. She created a sense of ritual by having them wear costumes like ancient Greek pages, taking them on pilgrimages to places like the island of Lesbos, and reenacting rituals from that idealized bohemian era. Her conquests were made to feel thoroughly ensconced in a kind of cult of beauty and female empowerment. Barney's strategy was brilliant in its multi-layered approach. In addition to creating a full spiritual value context for their dalliance, she also positioned herself as the living embodiment of the ideal she was elevating. She cultivated an air of being the most aesthetic, natural, unbound spirit, the pinnacle of unfettered pagan beauty. Her spellbound targets would transfer their sense of reverence for these values directly onto Barney herself, the Sappho-like high priestess of female liberation. By thoroughly diverting her targets into this sublime mindset, Barney turbocharged the effects of flattering them, writing them poems, and expressing her burning attraction to them. These utterances took on layers of extra meaning, divorced from the merely physical. As Greene describes, when she finally kissed or caressed them, it would feel like something innocent, pure, as if they had returned to the Garden of Eden before the fall. The sublime endgame. Barney would then deftly begin blurring the lines between the spiritual and physical spheres. She would make vague allusions to multiple forms of love: spiritual love, natural pagan love, divine love, love between friends, love between soulmates, constantly mixing these in the same lofty idioms until they became fused. Soon, the idea of physical consummation started seeming like the blessed culmination of their profound, almost religious worship of art, beauty, and female transcendence. The fleshly given was the final anointment into enlightened pagan goddess living. If pulled off authentically, this spiritual build-up made the endgame experience of seduction feel not merely pleasurable, but tantric, a sublime consummation of their shared ideals. As Greene notes, if you can make the culmination of your seduction appear as a spiritual experience, you will heighten the physical pleasure and create a seduction with a deep and lasting effect. Greene argues this intermingling of spirituality and sexuality taps into deep human needs, both religious and pagan in nature. On one level, we crave the feeling of being transported outside our mortal physical existence and connected to something timeless, higher, and sacred. This is the bread and butter of religion. However, we are also innately earthy creatures attuned to pagan energy currents, erotic rituals and celebrations of sexuality that were repressed for centuries under patriarchal religious rule. By making spirituality seem sensual and the physical seem spiritual, you cater to both sets of profound human desires simultaneously. The combination is utterly intoxicating and disarming of our usual defenses. The modern routes to sublimity. Of course, in our modern irreligious era, we must get more creative about employing spiritual lures beyond just traditional church-based ideals. Greene advises that art, poetry, music, cultural pursuits, activism, and social causes can all provide sublime gateways to the elevated mindset you're aiming for. The key is to honor your target by creating something artistic in their name: poems, paintings, songs, etc., that make them feel like they are being immortalized and appreciated on an entirely spiritual plane. You can further reinforce the effect by seeking out ennobling experiences together, taking them to thought-provoking art exhibits, reading enlightening books and having deep discussions, attending cultural social events with an air of community purpose. The activity provides a constant soul-nourishing backdrop that frames your seduction in a hazy nimbus of spirituality. You both get to feel like you're elevating each other while aesthetically arriving at a mutual awakening. Whichever lures or avenues you choose for achieving this sublime dimension, the key is to make your target feel that the interpersonal forces at play transcend the merely physical. Your appreciation of them operates on a higher plane. You are bonding over ideals and spiritual values, and your connection seems fated at a cosmic divine level. They will melt into flattered delirium at being appreciated as a muse or embodiment of something so pure and rarefied. In their minds, succumbing to the physical aspect suddenly feels almost sacramental. As Greene sagely summarizes, religion is the most seductive system that mankind has created. Death is our greatest fear, and religion offers us the illusion that we are immortal, that something about us will live on. The idea that we are infinitesimal parts of a vast and indifferent universe is terrifying. Religion humanizes this universe, makes us feel important and loved. We are not animals governed by uncontrollable drives, animals that die for no apparent reason, but creatures made in the image of a supreme being. We too can be sublime, rational, and good. Anything that feeds a desire or wished for illusion is seductive, and nothing can match religion in this arena. The sacred and the profane. On a deep level, we all crave the sense of being swept up in a sacred, blessed narrative that makes us feel cosmically destined instead of merely gratuitous physical beings. By cloaking your seductive pursuit in the cloth of spirituality, higher ideals, and a sense of artistic or divine purpose, you become the heroic co-author of your target's rarefied new origin story. You have plucked them from the mundane world into an ennobling new creative spiritual awakening. At the same time you engage their loftier side, you also attend to their earthy pagan needs for unbridled sensual joy and eroticism. The genius is to seamlessly merge the two, making the eventual descent into physical rapture not just feel permissible, but consecrated. Far from a sin, it becomes a sacrament. This spiritual luring may feel like an elaborate ruse from one angle. But as Greene reminds us, is romance itself not anathemadoxography, a sacred bending of reality and enrobing of physical intimacy in a profound context for human connection? Religion and seduction have overlapped since the dawn of human culture. In providing a richer, soul-stirring dimension to romance, spiritual lures simply reactivate a birthright as ancient as the desirous human mind itself. Now something important. Make it a daily habit to learn something truly beneficial that enhances your life. Remember, the content you feed your mind is like nourishment for your brain. Be deliberate in your choices. Otherwise, be wary. Algorithms are often crafted to manipulate your thoughts. Reflect on that. Now, We're excited to announce that we're now welcoming contributions through subscriptions to aid our upcoming projects and bring you exceptional content. Join us by subscribing today.